And we're live. Welcome back to the eSellerCafe News Roundup. And today I am Dave. That doesn't make sense. I'm Dave every week. But I'm the host this week, as Matt has been having internet issues all day, which is really unusual for Matt. He's usually the one internet we can often rely on. But not today, unfortunately.
And I'm Richard, and look, it's my normal surroundings. I'm not at an airport. I'm not outside.
That is not your normal surroundings.
I'm not in a hotel room for once.
Your normal surroundings are an airport. You're somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. I'm almost getting a complex. I'm thinking about getting a green screen to put behind me so I can put like different things.
Yeah. Oh, I'm in Hawaii. Look, palm trees. Anyway, Richard. Please, I think it's best if you introduce this week's news roundup, because you basically have summed it up perfectly in our show notes at the back here. So,
yeah. All right. Let's start out with that. Okay. So last week, Amazon took on old and the new commerce alike. Amazon took on PayPal, Google, Apple, Samsung, all with local payment solutions. Saved Sears Roebuck, or Sears Kmart as it's called nowadays, or Sears Holdings, whatever, from almost certain bankruptcy. Wiped out $13 billion in stock value from Lowe's, Home Depot, Whirlpool, and other appliance-related companies. Made Blue Apron, the people that do the meal kits, effectively a non-existent entity. Went head on with PayPal on e-commerce payment, so for e-commerce, we went right head on with it, including a promotion we'll talk about. Oh, wait, they started a social media platform too while doing all this, because everybody else was like, we need the monetization, but no one thought of e-commerce really well. So the question I have is, what did you do last week to disrupt your market? Because Amazon did one hell of a job.
I know, it literally has been incredible. Like, all last week, me and Matt were talking. Me and Matt were actually together up here in Manchester on Thursday, and you were just like pinging story after story. Amazon's doing this, Amazon's doing that. I was like, Jesus! Not only are we going to be busy on Monday, Amazon is just killing it. Like right now, they're just dominating the news. It's been incredible.
And the sad thing is, there was like really good stories I had. I put them all off till this week because I just didn't have time to write them. I'm not sure they can be relevant anymore because, quite frankly, Amazon just took over the whole week.
Yeah, the whole breaking news of Amazon pieces. Yeah, it's been fascinating. With that said, there are some sort of briefer, short bits of news which are sort of news but not that important. So we're going to quickly run through that, and then we're going to get onto the main sort of stories that happened last week. And there are some fantastic ones that we get to discuss and see how they will play out in the future. So with that said, Richard, Shopify introduces checkout on your own domain. What's going on there?
Well, I mean, basically, they're finally getting with the rest of the e-commerce world, which is, it used to be, it was like a Shopify. I mean, it was the checkout domain was your business name.shopify.com, and it probably really was friction for checkout for some people, because if you clicked on it and like, why am I being sent somewhere else? So some people, especially the ones that are kind of concerned about security and didn't know who Shopify is, might freak out on that. So finally, they're, after all these years, gonna change it to where you get your own secure certificate and actually give it to you for free. And it applies to whether you're a regular customer or one of the enterprise customers. It's just two different types of certificates they're going to give you depending on the size of your volume. Just going with the rest of the flow. And it's good for conversion. It's good for everybody. It's really should be a non-story, but it was so like more of a story. Why were they even still doing it the other way?
Yeah. Because again, WordPress used to do the same. You had that .wordpress thing, and it was a bit like, meh. So yeah, no, it's again another tick in the box for Shopify, really growing up nicely there. And again, it just makes them more attractive to the bigger businesses.
Right.
And also Samsung launches voice capabilities for Bixby in the US. It's about time, because that was I love that. I was like, oh yeah, Samsung are doing a HomePod thing, a home speaker thing, but it only speaks Korean.
Yeah. So you no longer have to learn Korean in order to use the Samsung Bixby. So that's a good start, Really, as we talked about last week, I mean, we were kind of saying, like, is this really going to be an e-commerce connection? Don't really think so, at least not on the short term. It's mostly the control apps. They're saying they're going to have more integrations and have something called Bixby Labs. So you might be able to do more things with Bixby-enabled applications, which, you know, Samsung does have a nice market share in the Android business, so that might, you know, get some people's attention. Clearly, home automation is probably really the bigger piece here because of Samsung's appliance business, television, electronics, so on and so forth. So soon you'll be able to talk to your Samsung phone, at least if you have a Samsung S8, if you desire to do so.
Or you could talk to your washing machine, I guess, if you're lonely.
Yeah, if you're lonely, talk to your washing machine. You know, if you got stood up by your date, you have somebody to talk to. I don't know.
Have a chat with the answering machine. Yeah, who knows? That's the Samsung smart world. We'll see how that pans out in the future. And now a couple of eBay pieces, which are getting quite small news, but worth mentioning anyway. eBay's new UK vice president, a chap called Rob Hattrell. He's sort of stepped into the role relatively frequently, sort of the last 3 months, and he has actually invited sellers in the UK to email him with problems that they've had. He's trying to encourage that communication, and so he gets a better feel for what sellers are struggling with. And this is, I look at this and think this is great news. Firstly, Rob Hattrell, vice president of eBay UK, he's got to be a busy guy. And is answering emails from sellers the best use of his time? No. But in a new role, and remember, under eBay's sort of new thing of putting sellers first, remember this is Devin's big thing from a few months ago. And like I said, when I was at the Catalyst event, Pierre, who was there, he was also saying very much like we're putting sellers first. This is another example of eBay doing this and opening up communications with sellers from the top down. And I always said at the time, this is how it had to start. This community, this culture within eBay has to start from the top and work its way down, and it looks like this is how it's happening. Yes, Rob has come under some criticism. You know, we've seen a few of the emails that UK sellers have been sending him, and maybe they've been a little bit harsh, directing a lot of their criticism at him personally. Got to remember, he's not the guy who's like, you know, who runs the actual technical side of the website. But, you know, if you open yourself up, you do open yourself up to criticism. But his replies have been fantastic. So I have a lot of faith in him.
I'm sure he knew that was going to happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I always laugh when you see these companies do like the Ask Me Anythings on Twitter, and they just go horrendously wrong with all the messages they get. Rob knew that he was going to get some flack, and fair play to him for putting himself out there like that. I think he's... I expect great things, to be honest. I think someone with that attitude who's willing to do that, and like I said, is generally putting sellers first, is a good thing. So we'll keep an eye on Rob, and like I said, maybe we'll get him on the show one day. Who knows?
Who knows? But,
yeah, fingers crossed. I like what he's doing. And again, a very quick one. This one again for the UK guys. The eBay UK and Royal Mail deal that has sort of come to an end. Whilst eBay was sort of updating their site with the Royal Mail piece, there was an old issue where up-to-date tracking information couldn't be uploaded, and Royal Mail were basically given a bit of a free pass on eBay. That has now been fixed. So if you do use, I believe it's first class signed for, second class signed for, special delivery guaranteed, you now need to upload the tracking number and tracking details as you once did. eBay no longer give you a free pass anymore on that. So that's just a bit of an update. And yeah, it's just putting it back more in line. They fixed whatever the old issue was.
I mean, so, does this actually have any implications, anyone, as long as you use first class? You just all you have to do is make sure you upload it, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean,
and most change your class service or anything you have to go with.
Absolutely, and most people would be using, we'd hope, would be using some sort of software anyway to do that. You really should be automating your pick, pack, dispatch, courier stuff. Mm-hmm. So yeah, chances are it doesn't affect you anyway. But again, we wanted to sort of keep you in the loop with the latest news on that one, because it may affect you. Like I say, if you've been caught sleeping on it, didn't find out about it, you know, now you know. Anyway, Richard, on to the sort of big stories this week. And it is largely a bit of an Amazon fest. So I'll quickly run through the headlines and then we'll jump straight into the juicy stuff. So eBay have been experimenting with feedback display. This is something that me and Matt had noticed a few weeks, maybe months ago now, that the old way of doing it had changed. And Matt also picked up that the old something in the API was no longer available relating to the feedback. And now it looks like we found out why. Amazon files a trademark and disrupts another market segment. I love that story. I think it's fantastic and just shows the power of Amazon. How Whole Foods could change in an Amazon world. We then talk about Amazon selling Kenmore appliances with Alexa. This sort of ties in nicely what you're saying about Samsung and Bixby. So again, we'll see how that could line up. Amazon Pay Places is now challenging PayPal. Again, previously we talked about Amazon and PayPal maybe getting in bed together and working on something. Now it looks like Amazon might be doing its own thing. Amazon offering $200 gift card to Magento merchants to get them on board with Amazon Pay. Again, heavily pushing the pay piece here. Amazon rumored to be developing a WhatsApp-style messenger to compete with the likes of WhatsApp. Amazon launches Spark, a social shopping channel coming to America. We'll see what that's about. And finally, did social media giants like Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter sleep at the wheel and allow Amazon to come in and potentially disrupt their market as well? Fascinating stuff. Heavily Amazon this week. So, Rich, let's kick things off with eBay.
Get the eBay story out of the way before you talk about Amazon.
Exactly. We'll get eBay out of the way. What's going on with the feedback?
Yeah, with the feedback, what they've done is, and we got, you guys mentioned you were noticing some changes, and then I guess we got an email from somebody saying, hey, something changed. And so I looked into it this morning real quickly, and on my listings they still have running, and I found that they made some changes. And since I have quite a bit of feedback from a number of listings, I was trying to figure out exactly what they were doing and how they were doing it. And what it boils down to is they're trying to give you feedback based on the product, which is probably not a bad thing to do, because when a seller has 10,000 products listed and you click on feedback and you see all this stuff, and somebody could be doing really well on $3 items or $10 items, but maybe doing very poorly on $100 items. So they might be doing very poorly on some other things, and those get sort of buried. You don't. So the expectations to a buyer are not totally 100% known. And so now you have it where it's on a per product item. So it's probably a bit fairer, a little better for the buyer to understand how the seller is going to ship this item, how good it is. They're not supposed to use it for product reviews, but people do. It's a little tweak. It seems to be very consistent right now. I did not find any instances on the UK site, nor did I find any on the Canada site. So I believe it's a US only experiment.
Yeah. That seems to be what we found as well this morning when we were looking. It was American listings that we could only find doing this right now.
Yeah, and especially in one key that I look at is when you go to Canada, often it includes American listings. So when I used American listings and I knew that were listed here on the US platform, but were also displaying on the Canada platform, the same feature did not work in Canada. So clearly it's a platform-specific feature. It is eBay Motors and eBay US. So any, probably not eBay Motors for cars, but eBay Motors for parts and stuff. And it also goes only for 2017. It's a little misleading when it says feedback for the last year, because it does tell you like how long ago some of that feedback is. And it says last year. Well, it really starts at 2017. And I personally had a listing where the sale was in 2016, just toward the end of the year. And because it was international, blah, blah, by the time the customer received it was 2017. By the time they left the feedback, that feedback was included. It was the only feedback and only sale of that item. So that gave me the immediate clue. You only need one sale and one feedback in 2017 for this new feedback pop-up to be triggered. So, clearly they're experimenting, they're changing. Who knows? There's no place that I could see where you can make any adjustments to it. The three little areas for positive, neutral, and negative are clickable, but they're only clickable when there's actually a number above zero there. Yeah. So
yeah, it's a curious one because, again, oh, drop my pen. There seems to be, like I said, we've said it a few times, and eBay have said it themselves. They now develop for mobile first and try and build in desktop around that. So I guess it's a curious one to see if this is now something that they are looking at. You know, is this optimized better for mobile? Because obviously they've done such a great, but I think it's a terrible job, because they've basically tried to hide the item description as much as possible. And previously, if the feedback was found on the item description page, you know, at the top, are they now pulling it into another screen on the mobile? So who knows?
You might be compartmentalizing certain aspects of listings. I see where you're going with that, and that's very possible.
The button drop downs for, you know, big fat fingers on small screens.
Right. So, and then the other question that comes with that is, how, since they obviously have this information and collecting the information, and they've had the information for years, but now that they're putting it out there, is that a clue to how they're going to do search rankings? You know, if somebody has, you know, a lot of feedback on a specific item that's positive, will that move up? You know, is that somehow incorporated in the rankings? So, you know, it's probably something to keep track of, and definitely if you have high volume parts or high volume items you're selling, and especially if they're profitable, you know, you want to look at that. And the only downside to this I see is, you know, sometimes it can happen that you might have a run of bad luck on an item because you had some damaged items or whatever it is. So, you know, shipping was slow due to weather, and all of a sudden you get 2 or 3 feedbacks, and they're confined to a week or two. All of a sudden they get highlighted more, you know. But
yeah, no, totally. So interesting one to see, and I guess we will keep an eye on that and see how it rolls out in the UK. I didn't see an announcement in the US, so I'm guessing they're just slowly releasing it out. And yeah, and
I'm not sure it applies to every. I don't know it applies to every seller. Maybe they're just using groups of sellers, only top sellers. I don't know. Yeah. You know, so
we will see. We'll see. But interesting all the same. So let's now move on to the Amazon section, which is a big section. It's a big section. So Amazon have filed a trademark, and that has disrupted an entire different market segment. Tell us more about that, Richard.
Yeah, so, you know, Blue Apron went public late June, I believe it was, and Amazon files a trademark that says, let me see, get it right, we do the prep, you be the chef, and the stock drops. Now, the funny thing about this is I did go onto the trademark office search database, and Amazon has filed various versions of this trademark for the last few years. So this is not the very first time this has happened. They filed other meal kit type of trademarks, so going back 3 or 4 years, different names. But it shows the power of Amazon today. It's like how people immediately, if somebody finds out something that they might be doing, and it impacts another business, that business is dead, you know.
Yeah, that is literally it. It's like the existing business which has succeeded and is making money. Amazon haven't done anything yet. They've not announced anything. All they did was patent a phrase, and people are like, "Oh, Amazon will do it better." So they're dead. Well, let's go with Amazon.
Now, to put it more realistically, you know, obviously these are reactionary things on the stock market, and we can't put, you know, it's not a long-term view of stuff. Blue Apron has a good name in this business. They have done very well with it. It does, you know, it does put pressure on Blue Apron if Amazon's going to come out to do this, especially with the next story with Whole Foods. We'll get into that in a little bit. What I can see happening here is that someone like Blue Apron all of a sudden may become an interesting takeover bid for what's that company called? Oh, Walmart. Yeah, Walmart.
Oh, those guys. Yeah,
those guys. Remember them, because they have nothing like it now, and they're not set up to have anything like it in the stores. And again, I'll get into this Whole Foods part of it here in a second. So there's a possibility that, you know, someone like Blue Apron could become a takeover target for someone like Walmart, who wants to take an existing market and then say, we're going to compete directly here with Amazon on this using, you know, our technology, our website, our this and that. That's a possibility here. Blue Apron might just make it on their own as well. I mean, like I said, it's got a very good name. Just because somebody comes out and says, I'm going to do this, doesn't mean they're going to be successful at it. Anyone remember the Amazon phone? Yeah, crickets.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, not everything Amazon touches turns to gold. So,
No,
but
of course.
it just,
Do you
it
have
does
any
show.
idea? Do you have any idea what the valuation of Blue Apron is currently?
No, but I might be able to find it out on the fly.
Because I was just thinking, like, as we've seen in the past, you know, few weeks, Amazon aren't short of, you know, splashing the cash. If Amazon were going to take it seriously, would they not just try and acquire Blue Apron? We know they have the cash able to do so. Especially now, by the sounds of it, it'd be a lot cheaper than it was last week.
Yeah, well, you know, their IPO was over $10, and right now it's at $7.79 as of right now. The market cap is $1.5 billion.
Okay, so it would be a noteworthy purchase, but compared to the $13 billion for Whole Foods, nothing major.
Jump change.
They'd make it back as soon as the stock price rose. You know. So yeah, it's a curious one as to why, if Amazon were going to take it that seriously, why would they do it themselves, if not just buy someone else who was already sort of doing it well? I said we don't really.
And I think the next story will explain that a bit. The next story we'll get into that in a bit, because that's why I think Blue Apron at $1.5 billion, even if somebody like Walmart were to swoop in and say, hey, I'm going to offer $3 billion, basically double the stock, which would make it higher than the original IPO. Then it would make sense for someone like Walmart to do that and get that business, you know, immediate business segment. But anyway, let's go to the next story, which is how Whole Foods could change in an Amazon world, which does include a little bit of talk with the Blue Apron and meal takeaways. Now, this is really an Alibaba story to start with, because Alibaba on their media website created a little video that showed how one of the stores in China called the Hema store, I think it's pronounced Hema, H-E-M-A. They own like 13 of these. And it's a grocery store that uses e-commerce, and they do it in many clever ways. You know, the store, it's hard to see in a 3-minute video, but it looks to be similar to a Whole Foods, which means it has a grocery section, a fresh produce section. It has a fresh meal section where you can get meals actually made. In that case, because Chinese like to have like a lot of fish and stuff prepared, so they can do on-demand prepare in China. Whole Foods doesn't do that quite here, but they have the buffet style. They have coffee, so they have, you know, it's a grocery store with some other aspects to it, and that seems to be very similar to Whole Foods on the, you know, as its basis. So then you walk in there, and in the app, you can basically scan whatever product you're looking at, and you get a full product description, maybe user reviews and all that kind of stuff, and you collect the products you want, and you check out with the app once you get to the checkout section. So it's m-commerce, mobile commerce, thrown into a Whole Foods, and it does provide a little bit of a glimpse of what Amazon could do. But the bigger piece of that video is the pick and deliver part. And they show how people pick the products, put them on a little moped. You know, somebody on a moped delivers the food to the house. So now we could see where 400 and some odd Whole Food stores could all of a sudden become delivery starting points for Amazon in local markets. Because if they're going to incorporate some of that, that would make a lot of sense. And here we go with the meal kits. What about creating meal kits? You on the fly. So you order something and says, I want this meal kit. Whole Foods puts it together because they got all the products there. And a half hour later or an hour later, the whole thing shows up. Hence why I think the Blue Apron wouldn't fit in with Amazon, because I think Amazon can do this now with Whole Foods having all the products ready to go. Clearly, they could create meal kits in their distribution centers and refrigerated distribution centers for maybe 4 or 5 day kits. But now that you could do an instant on-demand meal kit through Whole Foods.
That's the curious one, because I guess the whole Blue Apron thing is largely logistics and food prep. Amazon nail logistics. If there's one thing Amazon can compete with anyone, it's logistics. The food prep is just a small piece, which they, like you said, they've pretty much got with Whole Foods. They've got the ingredients there. And it's a very interesting market. Like over here in the UK right now, food prep, like companies, the convenience, they're absolutely smashing it. And because everybody's leading busy lives, they're always trying to be healthy, but nobody has times or, at the end of work to sit down, cook 7 meals for the week or whatever, and dish them all out, serve them up, freeze them. Businesses that are answering that problem are winning here in the UK, and Amazon clearly know that isn't going to go away. That market is only growth right now. So,
and I can tell you, for example, here in Florida, the Publix grocery stores, which is one of the largest national chains, even so they're a regional chain,
do great fried chicken in Publix.
Yeah, yeah, they do. They have an area where they always do these meal. It's not, I forget what they call them. They have a take-home meal or something. They basically pre-cook some meals for you to taste, and then they give you the recipe card, and you go and buy the parts for it, or the food for it. So this is just an extension of that by saying, okay, look, we can make this, and here just if you want to eat this tonight, here's our preset menu, and go pick it up. And Fresh Foods, which is a competitor of Whole Foods, does the same thing. They have these weekly deals where you walk in, you just buy one meal, and they discount it for you and pick it up. Clearly they're probably going to get into the delivery business at some point with that as well. So it makes a lot of sense, and it does incorporate Whole Foods very well. And the other thing with Whole Foods is that I know from a friend who used to do a bunch of business with Whole Foods, that their entire prep area is pristinely clean. They, unlike maybe sometimes when you walk in a supermarket and you look behind the counter and you're like, I wonder what goes on back there. When you go to Whole Foods, that is not a question. They are on top of it. If something is broken, it's immediately fixed. They have high demands on their on the stores being clean and being fully operational and all that. So I think that's another aspect why Whole Foods could win with Amazon in this market. So.
And again, you think about it's just a perfect meeting, really. Amazon have mastered the online experience for the buyer. And I always say Whole Foods mastered the in-store experience for grocery shopping. The pair of them together, they mastered the experience, and those people who master experiences win. So, yeah, fascinating to see. I totally agree with what you said. So moving on, we're going to go again, cautious of time. We've got Amazon to start selling Kenmore appliances with Alexa. Would Amazon buy Kenmore or Sears? So I didn't know this. Is Kenmore a Sears brand?
Yes. So let me back this up a bit. So Sears owned, Sears was started in 18 something. 130 years old company, I believe it is.
It's almost old in America.
Yeah, so yeah. Almost as old as Canada. They were celebrating 150th this year.
Yeah.
Anyways, to get back on topic, the company was a disruptor when it started. It was a catalog company, and they started selling things online. Not online, I mean with catalogs, heading off, then using email service to deliver. And through the years, they've grown into doing various things, including doing some of their own brands. And one of the biggest brands was Kenmore appliances, and the other one is tools, which crafting. If you think back into the 40s and 50s, that would make all sense, so you have this big catalog type of store, creating brands. Where have we seen this before recently? And then sell those brands, and so they became very popular and very big. And Kenmore still, despite all the problems with Sears, which really kind of still merged with Kmart, which was another discount retailer. The Kenmore brand still has a good reputation. The Craftsman brand had a good reputation, but early in the year, Sears sold the Craftsman brand off to Black & Decker, which is in the tools business, because I think they just needed cash, and it was the best cash cow they had. And maybe they already knew they could do something with Kenmore down the road that would be different. They also, another big brand of theirs is Die Hard, which is the battery business, but that might be slowly dying over time because as we all try to not use parts as much, supposedly. I don't know. But anyways, going back to Kenmore, so it's a very good brand. And by incorporating Alexa, you automatically, obviously, merge it now or collaborate with Amazon, and it gives them the immediate outlet of Amazon. And Amazon, on top of all of this, gets about 600 stores that will deliver and install these items. They CS has something called, I think, a white glove delivery service, and they have also an appliance repair service still. So there's all kinds of support that still exists from the CS side of it that now Amazon potentially can tap into. They only hinted toward the installation and delivery part, which is obviously a big thing with appliances, because what do you do with the old ones? Well, usually the people delivering will take the old ones away and then recycle them. Absolutely. So that all makes a lot of sense. And obviously for Sears, it's a huge bonus, because they all of a sudden, instead of struggling to figure out how to maintain the stores open that they have, which often they're stuck with these huge leases and major malls. And, Sears used to sell things like clothing, and it still does, all kinds of stuff. But the reality is probably that business has been more and more toward things like the appliances, and that's their bread and butter. And there's another interesting aspect to all of this, which there's a bunch of different angles here, but one other angle that a lot of people, especially millennials in the US, that don't know this, but all the way up to, I think it was 1983 or 84, I have to look at the exact date that's in the story. Sears in smaller rural towns used to have these little stores you walk in. They call them catalog stores. So you had this little, 1,000 square foot store, maybe 2,000 square foot store. They would have displays of bigger items such as appliances, and then some other small items, maybe kitchen things here and there. But then you had the full catalog, and you went through the catalog and you ordered what you wanted. It would be delivered to that store, and then you could pick it up from that store. That's how rural America often shopped in the past, because they didn't go to a Walmart, because it didn't exist at the time. So now think about this moving forward to 2017. What's been Amazon talking about? Well, we would like to have small stores where you can go in and look at appliances and other bigger items, and you can order them and we will deliver them to you. Sound familiar?
Oh, very much. Yeah, that makes sense. Does make sense. So how does the Alexa piece come in then?
Well, I think the Alexa makes it's a smart home automation, so now Amazon really, if you think about it, I'm not sure that they had a major brand to go with when it comes to the automation. If you go back to that Samsung story we had about Bixby, now you could put things into your washer, or let's say put stuff in your dishwasher, and you could control it with Alexa. You could talk to it, maybe remotely control it also through the internet, because everything is now connected to the internet. If they have other cooking pieces like actually the first one that they're releasing is the air conditioner. Why do you want to air condition your house during the day? You really don't need to. Save yourself the trouble. So you could use Alexa to, remotely to control your air conditioner. And obviously, if you're in a house and sitting there watching television, you can go, Alexa, I'd like it to be 2 degrees cooler. Get up?
And it's so funny, because we have the exact opposite problem here in UK. We now have heaters that do that. We have the app. We don't have voice control yet, but I believe that would be quite a simple integration with a skill. I think they call it. Is it Alexa skills?
Yeah, skill.
You'd be able to add it in. I totally get it. I think, but again, if you get Amazon integrated from the beginning, then obviously the integration and the abilities that it has just get so much more cleverer. If that
and the real question was, how far are we from Alexa, please send me a beer? And then the refrigerator opens up, a little drone flies out of the Kenmore refrigerator, delivers a beer to you, drone comes back to the refrigerator. I mean, this is all technology Amazon already has.
I'll buy one right now. So, but again, like you said, even with I'm terrible for this. I put the washing machine on, put it in another room, forget about it, come back, clothes are all damp, don't smell great, have to do it again. Again, if Alexa could pop up and go, Dave, take your washing out. Yeah. Again, it's just that automation makes my life more convenient, and again, ultimately saves water from me having to keep washing things.
Yeah. So while you're watching a football game, you sit there, okay, Alexa comes on, it's like, oh, stop TV, stop. You know, I mean, you can see where all this is going. You know, it's like you start.
TV, stop distracting the feeble-minded human. Yeah.
Exactly.
No, it's very interesting. And again, another interesting one to keep our eye on is to see how that integration moves forward.
And then, of course, $13 billion of stock market value went down the tubes in a single day because Amazon made one deal with a company that was on the brink of bankruptcy. Think about this for a second.
I think, you know, the more it's bad, Richard, because we're almost expecting it now. It's almost becoming normal to expect this impact that Amazon has globally through a patent or through something that's tweeted. You know, all of a sudden the market goes, Amazon's doing something, sell, sell, sell. And it is, the power Amazon has is scary right now. But they're disruptive, and it's a new world. It's a new way of doing things.
Yeah, I've read some stories where there's some people that think that maybe Amazon needs to be broken up, but that's for another day.
Yeah. We'll save that one for a slow news week. Which certainly wasn't last week. So anyway, again, on to Amazon Pay. It's Amazon Pay Places is challenging PayPal. What's Pay Places? I've not heard of this. I've heard
brand new concept. Extending Amazon Pay, which was the old checkout by Amazon, just refined. And Pay Places is basically NFC or a version
near field communication.
Near field communication. And where you go to a store and pay with your Amazon balance or Amazon wallet or however you want to look at it. However, Amazon did a little twist on this, which I think is going to help them make this work relatively quickly. They started out with a restaurant. Now, think about the genius part of this. How many restaurant apps do you have on your smartphone?
None. Does Deliveroo count? It's like a takeaway delivery one.
Food. I got about 10 of them.
Oh, right, okay. I don't think. There's like Domino's and
anything
like that. Yeah, I thought you meant like proper like restaurants and stuff. But food ones. Yeah, there's a few.
Anything food. So what they're doing is with TGI Fridays, which is their guinea pig for this, and it only works in the northeastern United States right now. You get the full menu, and you can sit there and order from the menu. You can pick it up if you want, because all these places have takeout nowadays.
Yeah.
And probably down the road, if they have delivery, I hit delivery and comes to you delivered. Or you can see the menu before you go there. So you can say, hey, if you have it for other people, is this what you want to eat? Blah, blah. So you go, you get the entire restaurant app experience that you typically get with these type of applications.
Yeah.
Inside of Amazon, and then you pay for it inside of Amazon. So it's a pretty genius way to roll this out. And they could, by going to the major chains, and TGI Fridays has nearly 1,000 restaurants worldwide.
Yeah.
You start with these sort of casual dining chains initially. You can gain some pretty serious ground pretty quickly here in the U.S. And then if you add something like Domino's, Pizza Hut, or whatever to it, why wouldn't they do that? It's just another avenue for them to sell through an e-commerce, and Amazon gets a little cut of it, and people get used to using the app again, and then they get used to putting money into the Amazon account if they want to use it that way versus using the credit card or I mean, it's a way to expand the wallet.
Yeah, 100%. I think this is the new cash. Cash is dying very quickly right now. Because people, having to remember to go to a cash machine or an ATM, take cash out. How much am I going to need for the night? Don't know. Or I've spent too much. Need to find another cash machine. It's not easy. And I'm sure it can be dangerous. You go for a night out and it's like, Amazon, PayPal, Amazon. Then you check the bank account the next day and go, wow, okay, I got a bit carried away. But, I think we're just moving to more that convenient world that we, again, but having to remember cash is something which is an inconvenience.
Right. I mean, I laugh nowadays when I see somebody actually write a check. I mean, the only reason I have a checkbook is because it came free with the account.
I've exactly the same. I have not seen anybody write a check. Oh God, and I can't even remember the last time I see someone wrote a check.
Yeah, it's amazing, and
in fact, there's a lot of places now in Manchester which say checks not accepted. They don't take
it. Yeah, that has started. Well, I mean, I did see somebody at a grocery store maybe within the last couple of months, right, to check it. An older lady. If you're going to see it, it's going to be somebody who's older. But outside of it, a younger person, I mean, nothing. No. I
don't even know where my checkbook is. I'll be honest with you. I got one like you said, free with the account. No idea where it is.
Yeah, I have it in my drawer, and that's the only reason I knew it was there.
So, like I said, we talk about Amazon Pay, and then, so is the partnership with PayPal off the table?
Well, it appears to be, because the next thing they did is they said, well, we did a strategic alliance with Magento to offer Amazon Pay for Magento users. And by the way, if you do X amount of transactions, we'll give you a $200 gift card. And the dollar amounts they're asking for transaction volume-wise are not that bad. They're very easily achievable. So on top of that, they're going, hey, here we go. By the way, we want to be your checkout partner too. And they're doing a second push. I know that checkout by Amazon CBA wasn't the most popular thing in the world. For the most part, it was probably only used by the people that use that web store thing that they used to have for a while. Now
it seemed a little bit glitchy here in UK. I heard the US version was better for Magento, but it looks like they've clearly been working on that and are now quite happy with what they've got and are literally trying to push it out.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen anybody offer $200 out of the gate to say, hey, by the way, we have this thing now. Go ahead and use it. I mean, and it just goes in with everything else we just talked about with the paying for things at a terminal and a local store, and Amazon, for at least in the United States for last year, has been really pushing hard on building up balances by offering discounts through debit cards or occasional specials. If you didn't direct a bank transfer, you got 5% extra money. If you did $100, you got 105 or whatever it was. So they've been pushing also the balance aspect of it, and we know from PayPal that they roughly have about $75 per user as a balance on average, and I think we all know that if you have that money just sitting there as cash, you're almost like, oh yeah, I got that $75. Let me buy something, So by building up these balances through gift cards or however, or transferring it from your bank account, you're more likely to use Amazon. And so now all of a sudden Amazon becomes a bigger player for the typical e-commerce store, because now you got to start thinking, do I also accept Amazon payments? And now we're starting to get a little confusing on that checkout page. You have this PayPal, PayPal Express. That's going to be an interesting, who's going to win that real estate, and how many people are going to implement one versus the other or both. So some of that's probably going to have to also depend on how other major independent e-commerce companies are going to implement it, because if people are getting used to using the Amazon account versus their PayPal account, then you gotta definitely take that into account and switch or add.
Absolutely, and I think that's the message there. If you're watching this right now, are using Magento, you could potentially have a $200 Amazon gift card. All the links for everything that we spoke about are in the description underneath this video. Go and check them out. And there'll be more information over on the eSellerCafe website. So again, $200 for an X number of transactions seems like free money to me. It'd be daft not to do it. So Amazon, Amazon is rumored to develop a WhatsApp messaging competitor. Why and what's going on?
Well, I mean, they on their AWS platform, they already have something called Chit Chat or something like that. I forgot what the name of it is. So they obviously have some messaging background that is part of their API. And now the rumor is that they're going to have a consumer WhatsApp style, messenger style, whatever app that will incorporate some form of shopping, and that'll be interesting to see. I mean, how that will play out. How many more messenger style apps do we need between WhatsApp, Messenger from Facebook, I don't know, Skype, Google Hangouts. I mean, it's a long laundry list of messenger apps out there, some more popular than others. And, it almost seems like we're back to the old, AOL MS Messenger battle, who's going to win that? but obviously the key point here is they're going to incorporate shopping somehow in this, which that would make sense for Amazon. Absolutely. And that kind of leads what will be then the next story we're going to talk about here shortly. So the beginnings of the social commerce China way of doing business. So Chinese doing, or at least how it is done in China now, and Amazon seems to be going that direction. Now, what gives us this chat app, what supposedly is rumored called Anytime Some legs, is that a company found a sign up screen for the beta test, and some of the features were listed on there along with a name and so on, so that there's no announcement on this messenger component. It could potentially be nothing more than some form of chatting service within the Amazon platform to talk to sellers. Hard to know at this point, what they're going to do with it.
It's a curious one. And like I said, this leads on much to the next topic, which is obviously much larger, and it is related. And like I said, they could, like Facebook have, bring a messenger into a social media platform. So Amazon has launched Spark. What's Spark, and why should we care?
Well, Spark is kind of like the new social media darling, maybe. I don't know. It's the latest social media out there, because what they've done is they have created an Instagram competitor. Effectively, that's what it is. And they're using, obviously, their shopping platform is heavily integrated into it, where you have feeds, you have sponsored feeds by, where people can put up like a lifestyle image and put dots or links on there. Now, that's shown in the article how that works. And then immediately below it, you see which items were shown in that lifestyle image. So then if you like that in the lifestyle image and you see it and just the product page and say, hey, this looks good, this will look good. There's especially fashion, there's many ways to use that. On top of that, they're going to introduce, or they're going to allow, they're going to allow a lot of the reviews to be shown in Spark as well. And that's not currently on the app, but that's coming very, very shortly. In the meantime, they have, people can post, as long as you're a Prime member, you can post your own stories about products, do sort of a semi-review. I'm not sure they really want it to be used for reviews. They want it to be more of a social way of, hey, look what I bought. This is what I have. This is cool, blah, blah, blah. Now, if you remember a few months ago, we had a story about Amazon hiring social media influencers.
Yep.
Guess where they're probably working now? I mean, they didn't hire these people just to be putting stuff on Facebook and Twitter. I'm sure that was sort of maybe the initial thought what everybody had, but clearly these, they are calling them enthusiasts on this platform, are going to be probably existing social media influencers that were accepted by Amazon to do this, because that gets the whole ball rolling. They want people to talk about stuff, and so you can start seeing where this is all coming together. And then you look outside the spectrum a little bit, and you about that Anytime app that's rumored, and then you look at something else they already own called Twitch, which is all video based.
Yeah.
I mean, and you start going like, wow, this is all like, what, isn't this what Facebook and Snapchat and Twitter and all those other guys do? And that's exactly what they do. And that's really now the big question. Will Spark become its own social media platform that will outgrow from Amazon, and people will start using it, and then Amazon captures these people as new followers, new buyers, and we know how much they do in fashion. Clearly, this is very fashion related. And I last week I was reading, especially when I was on a plane ride, I was reading a couple stories where people made some other comments about Spark, and there was some comment, oh, this is nothing more than just a feed. No, it's a lot more than the feed. The eBay product feed is very basic in comparison to what's happening here. Extremely basic. This is not. You could say
the same about Instagram, though. Instagram is just a feed.
Yeah.
But if you had the ability to buy things that were in the feed, then things become exciting.
Exactly. And that's, that's the point here. It is going to, why would you go to Instagram now if a lot of the the especially on the fashion side, I think this is gonna drive fashion more than anything, because fashion is a very visual medium. You know, why would why would you go somewhere else if you can find all the interesting stuff, and then you don't have to go searching for it and buy it from XYZ site over here or over there, but it's all on Amazon, you know. And Amazon is, I mean, the numbers, they're double in sales already online in Macy's. They're growing like crazy when it comes to fashion. People trust Amazon when it comes to buying products online because of free returns, I mean, it's a no-brainer into that whole fashion industry, apparel industry. And yes, it will eventually, you know, get into others. It's not that they're restricting it. You right now, because you can put interests in, you can put a bunch of other interests in there. That's not a problem. It's just that's the most logical place for it to start with. And when you look at Instagram, what do you find mostly? If you do look for things that appear to be shopping related or shopping, they're often visual fashion things, shoes, you know.
See, it's funny because when I first read the headline, it was like, oh, another social media platform. You know, the hardest thing with social media is adoption, getting people to adopt it, use it on a daily basis. You know, Facebook with, was it nearly 2 billion users globally? You know, that's huge. The audience is huge. It's stuff like 1.2 who tune in daily to post something to Facebook or interact with Facebook in some way. That audience is massive. And can Amazon compete with that audience with their own figures? No, they can't. Facebook is much bigger in terms of audience. However, I've been sick and tired of banging on and hoping for a social platform to actually get e-commerce right for the past 3 or 4 years. Facebook have got the closest, I would say, with Marketplace, but there's no way to do it on a mass scale. There's no way for, like, if you're a seller with 17 items, to list 17 items automatically. You have to list one by one. It's supposed to be a C2C marketplace, or like consumer to consumer, not a business. Instagram have tried to get a little bit more involved with, you know, products and shop now links and stuff like that. It's not native. It doesn't feel right. Pinterest have also been trying things. The adoption with Pinterest is obviously very niche. The market share is not the same. The audience isn't big. Very diehard fans, but again, not utilized worldwide. And for anyone who would say, you know, I would discount 99% of people or businesses that said they were going to start a new social media or a new social channel. But the one company you can't ignore, one of them is Amazon. And it's like, you would be stupid to bet against them, as has been proven time after time after time. When they want something, they go after it. And it makes the perfect sense for them. It makes perfect sense for them to have a social platform, because in China, as you mentioned, social influence is huge on shopping. And it makes perfect sense. I just don't think we've had it here yet to understand how it works. But they have everything. They not only have the sellers, they have the products, they have the buyers, and you're just giving another way for people to be able to buy products that they like. And for example, you think about Instagram, huge people with huge followings, the Kardashians. Whether you agree with them or not, they have huge followings. And guess what? They also sell products. If they knew that they could sell products directly through an Amazon, social media platform, they'd be on it in seconds. It makes perfect sense. And along with their 3, 4, 10, 20 million followers would come along too. I think Amazon are playing a very clever game. And if they can get the right influencers onto the platform, and even if they could get exclusivity on that platform for a period of time, that's, I think, how they would really make a huge impact into the arena.
And who did Amazon just recently sign that's very heavily into marketing, and especially to a younger audience? Oh, that company called Nike.
Oh, of course, yeah. Of course. And Rory McIlroy and all those, the big sports stars who are signed with Nike. Yeah, Nike, yeah.
And I was trying on the fly here to look at this, and I found a website. And now think about this. How many Snapchat users are there? 300 million?
Something around that figure.
Yeah, Instagram users are there? 300 million?
I think slightly more Instagrams, but yeah, ballpark.
Q1 2016 active Amazon customer accounts 310 million.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like you of all the companies that you would normally discount for trying to try something like this, Amazon ain't one of them.
Yeah,
Amazon have the ability to do this. Are they going to be as big as Facebook? Not to begin with, but who knows? If anyone can make it work, it's Amazon.
Yeah, absolutely, and that brings, I mean, our last story is about, did everybody fall asleep doing this? Because it appears to be the case. It's like none of the other big companies looked at e-commerce. Oh, we're so worried about how do we monetize, our space and our ad space and the screen real estate and create links from here to there. And like you mentioned, Facebook is the closest one that has done something with marketplaces. But there's not a portal to go to start with. It's like, hey, I want to shop shoes on Facebook. How do you do that? You can't, And so now with this Amazon app, you can put in shoes and you start seeing all kinds of ideas for shoes. And then you see all these various stories and you can, it becomes, you involve the buyer, and that's what it's all about. And what if there's one thing that social media has done, it's made us all do this.
Yeah,
I mean,
and that's the thing. It's like, I get this is more of a female thing, and I'm not generalizing. Just seems to be how it is. But if someone's scrolling through their Instagram feed, you go, "Oh, I really like those jeans. Wonder where they're from," and she's not put it in a description. I'll have to try and search it. Whereas if Amazon said, "Oh yeah, these jeans are from Ralph Lauren and cost this much," you're like, "Oh, here's the buy button." All of a sudden, like you said, for fashion, that is dangerous. That is dangerously powerful. How, if Amazon can nail this the right way, which, like I said, we can name the failure with the phone, but they've had way more successes than failures for sure. I wouldn't bet against them.
We need to be realistic. Amazon has had failures, and actually,
absolutely.
There's an outline of a story that I'm working on that talks about their failures, and then also talks about how they came back and turned failures into. They learn. Yeah, they learn. But that's another story for another time. But yeah, I think this was a big Amazon week. Let's face it. The last week they basically overturned half the world. And it's important to pay attention to what they're doing, and they are willing to go head to head with people on social media giants, with payments giants. They're willing to do these things that others either can't or are unwilling to do.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Is like, have the social media guys been sleeping at the wheel? Absolutely. And is there a business out there which is quite as forward-thinking with as much resource as Amazon? Probably not. And the one thing, like on that train of thought that you were saying there, Richard, the one thing we know about Amazon, Bezos is not scared to take a hit. He's not scared to lose money for long-term gain. He did it for years. And if he truly believes in something, he'll go after it.
He did it for years, and he maintained investor confidence in him.
People bought in him. That was the thing. They believed in him as the leader. Tell me an investor who's currently disappointed.
The list is probably extremely short.
Yeah, exactly. The ones who jumped out too soon, I imagine.
I mean, the worst thing that'll happen to Amazon is the day Bezos decides to leave. It'll be like
exactly, or he gets hit by a bus, or the Steve Jobs effect, something like that.
But I mean, think about how Apple is, but then they're used to sit on a bunch of money, and then
they're still cash rich. Yeah, they may not have innovated, but they're still a very profitable business. Anyway, I think we should wrap that up because we've been talking for an hour, and it is longer than we usually aim for. We usually aim for 40, 45 minutes, but today we had a whole host of news, and a lot of it Amazon-based. But yeah, I think there's some fascinating stuff going on. The key takeaway is Amazon. They are a monster. They are affecting markets in which they have no interest right now. And that, like I said, we can't ignore the power. So quickly, we'll recap the main stories from today. Remember, if you're watching this right now, all the links are down below for the full written stories, more information. And so we had eBay experimenting with feedback display. Amazon files a trademark and basically makes Blue Apron almost worry. You know, it lose a whole host of money on the stock market, fall below IPO. Amazon, the Whole Foods, how could that change with the Amazon world? Again, nice thought piece there on how that could tie in with their new trademark. Kenmore appliances with Alexa and a sort of partnership with Sears. You know, that again, very interesting. We had a few good thoughts on how that could affect the smart home, which, like I said, is coming without a doubt. Amazon Pay Places is now challenging PayPal. We did suspect they may be working together. Now it seems Amazon is going it alone. And to further that, Amazon are offering $200 gift cards to Magento merchants who are starting to accept Amazon Pay and meet certain transaction thresholds. Amazon developing a WhatsApp-style messenger. Who knows what that will be or how deep that will go? Will it be customer facing? Will it be back end for, you know, on the Amazon marketplace only? We'll have to wait and see. Spark, Amazon looking at launching their own social media platform with e-commerce built in. That can be a huge game changer if Amazon get that right. It's Amazon's ethos, disruption. They are going to disrupt social media massively if they get that right. And finally, Richard's piece on, did social media giants fall asleep at the wheel? Absolutely. I think that they have. You know, I've been trying to push for social commerce for at least the past 3 or 4 years. Facebook have come the closest, but it's not a true marketplace. Instagram are trying a little bit with some, you know, links. Again, not the same. If Amazon could build this natively into a social media platform, who knows what will happen? So yeah, that's pretty much been the takeaway from the news from the past week, and that's the eSellerCafe Roundup. Richard, have you any inkling into what's coming up this week?
No, I'm going to try to finish up some of my other stories that are left over from last week.
Yeah,
mostly a little bit about Snapchat as one of them, and then a piece about Twitter, and kind of a funny one that happened to me while flying Twitter and customer service.
I remember that
you
one.
know the story.
I know the story.
And that would be I'm writing a story around a interesting interaction between myself and an airline on Twitter, and go figure that one out. You'll find out how that falls into e-commerce. There's a twist to this.
Absolutely.
And then we'll have to see. I mean, you know, the one thing I will say is, and I think anybody that runs in the e-commerce business needs to consider this. We see how much Amazon did in the last week of news releases and rumors and whatever's floating around out there. They are thinking ahead. It's July, and they're thinking into the Christmas season. They're thinking into, you know, it's 3-4 months away. I mean, you have to think that far out. You know, the day the Christmas, the holiday season is over, you got to start thinking about next year. If you don't start thinking about next year, you got to make then you're going to be left behind. You have to have some kind of plan what you're going to do. And Amazon is really showing us how they, on the grand scale, are doing this. But even on a smaller scale, as a small e-commerce seller, you still have to do the same. Think about changes in products and whatever, designs, whatever it may be. And, you know, you can't go in October and say, "Oh, it's Christmas." You know, it's just not going to happen. So keep that in mind.
I totally agree. That's fantastic advice and something which I totally agree with. So with that said, we're going to leave you there with that thought. Think about the future. What's some of the best fashion guys that I know here in Manchester are purchasing for spring, summer next year when people are still buying autumn, winter this year? You know, they're always a season, at least a season ahead in terms of what's coming up. You should aim to be the same in your business as well. So with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching. Like I said, any questions, any comments, let us know in the comments down below. All the links for everything that myself and Richard spoke about this week, again, are in the description. Click show more underneath and you'll see all the links. It'll take you over to the articles on eSellerCafe. And with that said, again, thank you for watching. We'll catch you, as always, next Monday. Richard, you may not be with us, depending on what time your flight is.
No, next Monday I'll still be here. It's the weekend after that.
Got you. Right. In which case, myself and Richard will still be here next Monday. And hopefully Mr. Matt will be with us as well with a better internet connection. Thank you so much for your time, guys. Thank you, Richard, for a fantastic bit of news this week. And yeah, we'll catch you next week. See you then.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.